優雅に計らい、華麗に勝ち、平和を思うために戦うこと。いかなる状況においても決して勇気を失うことなく、それが私たちロイヤルの流儀。なんだかジョージ姉さんが言いそうなセリフだと思わない？だから私たちは決してくじけたりはしないの。陛下の栄光に立ちはだかるあらゆる敵を一掃することを、ロイヤルネイビーの栄光とこの剣に誓って。
Hello, hope everyone's doing well. And today we're talking about Aurora Noctis being added to the War Archives. Now this is a huge event to be added to War Archives, particularly because of one character. She's basically like having a UR, except she's an SSR. So there's a really good character. There's one that's also pretty good, and the rest are kind of but we'll go over them. So this event is a Royal Navy event. There will be a rate-up banner that lasts about 2 weeks with all the ships that were returning from the Aurora Noctis event before they are added to the permanent pools. You'll get obviously some stages to farm. Let's go over the stages first. We'll do the ships last. So for the stages, there's not a whole lot going on there. You can get one of the event ships. The gear is meh. There is the fast HEBB gun. That's good for like battleships that have a widespread barrage. You want to fire very quickly. However, otherwise it's kind of you can get a bunch of German ships from the event stages. So if you want to work on collection, you want to get Ironblood tech points, you want to get ships to actually farm PR ships that are Ironblood, this is a good opportunity to do so. And yeah, so overall, farming, if you already have a bunch of German ships, already have all the German ships, I'll have them up on screen while I'm talking here, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. And then the event ship you can get from D3 is kind of meh. Farming wise, not a great event. It depends on whether the 60 clears will either be the event ship or the event gear from the shop. I'm thinking it's going to be the event ship because the gear from the shop is already available elsewhere. While we're here, talk about the gear from the shop. So when the event ran, there was a fighter that was available. It was called the Sea Hornet. It is a very good fighter. It's fairly quick. It's got good bombs, got good AA stats. So overall, very good fighter on parity with like the Tiger Cat and the Flying Flapjack, just faster than the Flapjack. It's already available in the Gear Lab, so you can grab it from there, from crafting it. Maybe they will add it to the core data shop. That'd be nice for another way to get it. Get one per month that way. They're doing it with other gear from events, so we'll see how that goes. So let's move on to why you're here, the ships. Now, Perseus. She's the pink-haired girl, the white dress. She is a light aircraft carrier. She's an SSR, but she functions basically like an UR. She is incredibly good. I still think she's the best hero in the game. She's in competition with Unicorn now that Unicorn is a retrofit. Prior to this, I'd say obviously Unicorn is better because you can get Unicorn more easily, even if you have to retrofit her. But now that Perseus is back and she's permanent, bumps her way up in the availability stats. Perseus, better for like mobbing, and Unicorn is also really good for mobbing, but I've also seen her used a lot in the challenge mode stages, just keeping your ships alive since those stages are so long. And Unicorn has some advantage over Perseus in that regard, because Perseus is not a huge fan of long fights. Perseus, I cannot recommend her more. Incredibly good. I got her fairly early on, so that helped offset the fact I didn't get any of the really good battleships like Nagato, Richelieu early on, but I got Perseus, and she's been mainstay of any mob fleet since then. So the past 2-3 years, just always been in the mob fleet. You can use her to PR farm ships, so she'll be in the back line, and she can keep, no matter what front line you have, basically, you can keep them alive. She's that good, and she makes fights very short because she has 2 preloads, and those do decent amount of damage. She's not the strongest in terms of air strikes, but she's pretty good. However, the problem with using her is she likes to steal MVP because she just sends out her 2 airstrikes immediately and clears the screen, and the battle basically is over. So be aware with that if you use her. That's a slight issue she has. Because she is a light aircraft carrier, she can also use the ASW planes for like World 14. So yeah, let's go over her skills now that I've gushed about how good she is, and let me tell you exactly why she's good. Well, like I said, she has 2 preload airstrikes. This is part of her first skill. They have to level it up. It starts at 1, level up to 2, and then, but when she launches her airstrikes, she heals all ships in your vanguard by 7%, and all your main fleet ships by 3.5% of their max HP. So this is scaling off the ships being healed to max HP, not Perseus's. The downside to this really good skill is that her airstrike loading time is increased by 90%, so it is very, very slow. However, if you're running her in the mob fleet, you're clearing the stage really, really fast, so it doesn't really matter too much. But if you want to, get that 3rd, maybe a 4th in, if it goes a little long, you can run the homing beacon on her, and that will speed her up a little bit. I believe that's a 30% increase in speed, so only down to 60% debuff if she has the homing beacon. This first skill is the highest priority, level 1st. Next up is Athena's Catapult. Every 12 seconds, she will launch a random special airstrike consisting of either Sea Hornets, TBF Avengers, or Fireflies. It's kind of a skill. Nice extra damage, but it's not a super high priority, so you can do the skill last. And then the last skill, Waters of Styx, increases the ship's max airstrike capacity to 3. So usually if you have preloads, that means you're not loading the next thing. But since she has the extra airstrike capabilities, she can be reloading that first one, so you don't have to use your airstrikes immediately. You can save one, save both of them, whatever suits the situation. So that's really, really good. And then she also has a passive heal to all the ships in the same fleet. So every 20 seconds, heals 1% of their HP. You know, it's nice, little top off them. And then 20 seconds after the fleet she is not in, so if she's in the mob fleet, this will be your boss fleet, she heals that fleet's vanguard by 3% of their HP. That's a nice little heal. You know, maybe if they're damaged a little bit. So yeah, it's really good. However, in Operation Siren, this cross-fleet healing skill its effect is halved, so it'll only be 1.5%. So yeah, that is Perseus. Really, really good. Even if you have Unicorn Retrofit and you don't have Perseus, definitely go for Perseus. I will say overall, don't go completely crazy. I would say focus on getting Perseus, because 2 weeks after the start of this War Archive raid up, we should be having the JP anniversary event, which will likely bring another UR ship. So just be aware of that. So next up is Howe. I like to think of her as Warspite, but for light armor enemies, because she shoots out a single target, basically barrage, that does HE damage instead of Warspite's armor piercing. Overall, she's pretty decent. She does need 2 other Royal Navy ships or one of a specific bunch to make most of her skills, and she pairs very, very well with Duke of York. She's a pretty good buffer too. So first skill, Synchronized Strike. Every 15 seconds, fires a barrage at a random enemy, and increases the reload and accuracy of all battleships, battlecruisers, and aviation battleships in the main fleet by 20% for 8 seconds. This is very, very good for battleship boss fleets, but so you can have her as a buffer along with Duke of York, like I said, Vanguard, on a Royal Navy backline. And then her other skill, Covenant of the Immortal Knights, when entering combat, buffs her own firepower and reload by 12% until the end of battle, so she just has that flat buff. Also, if she is sorted with another King George V class, so this will be King George V, Duke of York, and Prince of Wales, or Monarch, who is the cancelled King George V class, or any 2 other Royal Navy ships, so not including herself. So you have to have 3 Royal Navy ships in total. She buffs her firepower and reload by an additional 12% till the end of battle. So if you fill that requirement, she gets plus 24% firepower, plus 24% reload. Now I did a test run with her because I was thinking about this. So I ran her with her and Monarch, and she was able to use the Musashi gun pretty well. It was a little bit on the slower side, but not like it is normally, where your other battleships are firing twice before it fires off. So maybe you have to run a fire control radar or a autoloader for timing purposes. But overall, pretty good. When I use her again, I'll probably try the Musashi gun build. I have that on screen so you know what I'm talking about. The big old 18-inch gun. So, and Monarch during this had the Champagne gun equipped. It was a 20-second reload versus the Musashi gun's 36. So it ended up being pretty close. So overall, Howe, pretty solid, especially for buffing battleship fleets. But since she'll be in permanent, she'll likely show up on the next heavy pool event banner. So let's say it won't be this, but let's say Yamato is the next JP anniversary UR. Not going to be the case, but then it will be a heavy pull. So then Howe could potentially show up in there. I would just, hang around, not go too crazy pulling for her. If you like her, and I understand why you would, go ahead. She has some gorgeous skins. I'll show them on screen. They're fantastic. 10 out of 10, all of them. Now, next up is Hermione. This will be the last SSR of the event. She was the event dropship, as well as the dropship. So she will be farmable in D3, but I kind of feel a little bad for her because I never actually obtained her. So it's been the original run, the rerun. I didn't get her from the drop, didn't get her from the Gacha, and didn't get her from the shop. So I don't have any experience with her, mostly because I didn't really go for her because at the time I wasn't buying dock space. So I just another Dido class. We'll already have Sirius and Dido Muse, so whatever. And I rarely see people use her in like a PvP and just like have her as her secretaries. But she's got 5 skins, which I didn't realize. And one of those is an O skin. I remember seeing the O skin, but like, really? Hermione? But so be it. Some people like her, I guess. So what she wants to do is be not the foremost vanguard. So she does not want to be on the far left side. She can be the off tank, be in the middle, but not on the first position. And she also wants to have another Royal Navy ship in the fleet. Overall, she's just kind of a decent AA ship. She does only have the one AA gun mount, so she kind of suffers there, but her stats are really good for anti-air. And since she's a Dido class, she can also equip DD guns as her main gun, so you can run one of those on her. Now for her skills, Bombarda Gemino, every 15 seconds fires a special barrage, and if there are no enemies close to her when this barrage goes off, she fires an extra barrage. So she has 2 barrages, essentially, in that every 15 seconds. Now similar to someone like Aegir, who fires an armor break barrage, but this doesn't have that same nice buff, it just does damage. So, there's other double barrage ships or triple barrage ships that don't have so many conditions. Because if it's a stage with a lot of enemies on it, you're not always hanging out towards the far left side of the stage. And supporting role, if she's not in the frontmost position, she buffs her own firepower, torpedo, anti-air, and reload by 20%. And then if there's another Royal Navy ship in the fleet other than herself, she buffs her own damage dealt by 8%. So off tank, middle position, and with someone else Royal Navy in the fleet. So Queen Elizabeth II, if that's the next UR, we're just throwing out all kinds of predictions tonight. One of them will be correct. Just keep throwing it against the wall until something sticks. Don't bother trying to go for her in the Gacha pool. Just farm her in D3. If she is available in the War Archives as the 60 run reward, then you can just do the 60 runs and get her that way. Hopefully get her before then. Next up is Eagle. She is an aircraft carrier, so she suffers a bit from having an elite status, and she's a bit older. And she's one of those early generation aircraft carriers that can actually use CL guns. So if she can put it in her 3rd slot, this gives her the ability to shoot at ramming boats and suicide boats. So there's some utility there, but the efficiency isn't great on it. I'll get into that. So her first skill, Royal Arts, Knight's Arsenal. If she has a CL gun in her 3rd slot, she buffs that slot's gear efficiency by 45%. So this brings up to a grand total of 90%. Not fantastic. And sets that weapon's range to 80, and then every 24 seconds, she fires a special barrage. So, some utility there, but I wouldn't rely on her to be taking out that conga line of suicide boats in like chapter 11 or whatever it is. If you have another BB that's going to be shooting that stuff, then you can have her complement it, but overall, And then she has a dive bomber. She decreases the loading time of her first airstrike by 50%, so just a little bit faster. So overall, definitely a ship you get for collection purposes. Other than that, if you like her design is pretty cool, but her overall usefulness is pretty low. Next up is Valiant. She's an elite battleship, Queen Elizabeth class. It's got barrage. She's got an interesting skill potential, but she's a couple years old now. She's an elite, kind of suffers from that. So her first skill, leading the way, 10 seconds after the ship fires its main guns, fire a special barrage that inflicts armor break to all enemies it hits. Armor broken enemies take 8% more damage for 20 seconds, and this armor break status stacks with other sources of armor break. So theoretically, if you have a fast enough main gun, you can have this always going. So yeah, that's a combination, but she just suffers from really low stats from being a couple years old and an elite, so unfortunate. This is what URs do to the world. And then her other skill, Forward, it's a 50% chance to fire a special barrage when she fires her main guns. That's pretty low. If it was like 70, 65, be a lot better, but 50, So yeah, Valiant, got a pretty cool design. I like how she says her name, but other than that, nothing too crazy. And lastly, we have Icarus. So she's a Royal Navy destroyer. She's another elite. Now, she likely won't be on the Gacha pool, and you probably won't see her for a little bit because she'll be added to the Merit Shop at some point. That's where she is in the Chinese server. The Wiki didn't have where she is in the JP server yet, so she's likely going to be in the Merit Shop. But overall, another collection ship, nothing fantastic. So, first skill, Auto Assault, open fire, 5 seconds after the start of the battle, and a 7% chance after every 30 seconds, she launches a special barrage. So, this will extra damage. And then her other skill, Torpedo Mode. Sure, at the start of the battle, and every 20 seconds after that, for 10 seconds, decreases the damage the ship takes from torpedoes by 20%. That's nice. And changes the ship's torpedo barrage to a line with no spread. So, if you've been in the Gear Lab, there's a Royal Navy, supposed to be service torpedoes, that fire in a straight line where you're standing. So if you're stationary, just boom, 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 all in a straight line. If you move, they'll be offset a little bit, but it's not like an arc like the normal torpedoes are. So you'll want to be playing on manual mode when the skill is active. That's kind of real niche, and he's an elite, so collection. So yeah, that is the ships. So should you pull for Perseus? Absolutely. Perseus is fantastic. Other than that, Howe's nice to have if you can grab her pretty quickly, but with the upcoming JP anniversary, I'm worried there's gonna be a UR coming, so make sure you still have 400 cubes to spare for that UR. That way you can guarantee and get it and start farming coins up. So yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found it useful. If you did, share it with someone else. Maybe it'll help them. See you next time. Bye-bye.